Get rich or get booted from the White House trying. That's essentially the slogan of this cabinet. Because with the amount of nepotism, cronyism, personal enrichment, and policies that benefit the 1%, this administration is proving we live less in a democracy and more in a plutocracy, a government for the rich, by the rich. And if they had their own clothing line, it'd be Ferber. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with the rich. They've given us many things, like the pyramids and reality television. And it's fitting that since we unpopularly voted in a reality star millionaire as president, there would be millionaires and billionaires running the government. Those who've traveled everywhere and seen everything, but can now simultaneously cross off the last two things on their bucket list: be in a reality show and leech off the government from the inside. But for a campaign that said it wanted to drain the swamp, the Trump cabinet is full of corporate executives, lawyers, lobbyists, and Rick Perry. The cabinet is worth a combined $4.3 billion, leaving little doubt that the swamp is very much intact.
They came in there with a mandate to drain the swamp, and it seems that, the president surrounded himself with alligators.
That's not draining the swamp, it's adding alligators to it.
The alligators are just being replaced.
Billionaire alligators.
He is gold-plating the swamp and filling with alligators.
And those alligators have a gold diving board and a gold swim-up bar with little alligator-shaped golden straws. It's pretty cute. All right, we get it. There are alligators in the swamp. Of course, let's remember that other creatures have been living in the swamp for years, like newts and turtles and those little spineless larvae. But let's talk about those alligators, because getting rid of government corruption and waste is arguably what endeared voters to Trump. The campaign even came up with a contract with the American voter that had measures in it to curb corruption, such as a 5-year ban on White House officials becoming lobbyists after leaving office, a lifetime ban on White House officials lobbying on behalf of a foreign government, and a complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for American elections, starting right after they used foreign lobbyists working on behalf of foreign governments to get elected. Sweet. The Trump cabinet isn't just using their positions to deregulate the very industries they're in charge of overseeing, they've also been using their positions to enrich their friends and family, and wasting taxpayer money on themselves. Let's begin with waste and work our way corrupt. This cabinet has a unique way of showing Americans they care about us, specifically by using our money to fly around on private and military jets.
At least four of Trump's cabinet members have been using private planes on the taxpayer's dime.
Yeah. That includes Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who spent $800,000 tax dollars on super important treasury business, like catching the solar eclipse with his wife. And Secretary of the Interior Ryan Zinke, who was caught chartering jets and helicopters to take him to super urgent meetings, like making it to Washington in time for a 4 p.m. horseback ride with Mike Pence. Wait a minute. So you're saying the emergency was needing to make a sunset horseback riding date with the most homophobic person in the administration? What could that mean? You didn't go up there to fish, did you? You'd think this cabinet would have been more frugal, since many members spent the Obama years crusading against excessive government spending, like former Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price did as congressman.
What the American people know is that we need to truly decrease spending at the federal level. We need to walk the walk and decrease total spending at the federal level.
Yep, walk the walk right to my publicly funded private jet.
Health Secretary Tom Price resigns after coming under fire for his use of private jets.
Oopsies! Better walk the walk to your social worker and talk the talk about unemployment benefits. Beyond hypocritical, these actions are insulting, because these are the very same cabinet members that demand we regular Americans make do with less. Tom Price advocated for a nearly $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, which he called an entitlement, and yet he feels entitled to take 26 private jets in 9 months. And Ryan Zinke defended his agency's decision to hike up national park admission and then proceeded to shame us about it.
So come on, America, if you think that $80 all year, every park, all the time, by a carload is too much to ask, I mean, come on, it's our parks.
Come on, America, you gotta see the Grand Canyon before we dig it up for oil. Pay up now. What? Helicopter ready? Mikey's waiting. Giddy up. But beyond wasting our money, the Trump cabinet is also good at using their positions to make money for their loved ones. Because unlike the Gap, it's always Friends and Family Day at the GOP. Just ask the Cruella de Vil of public education, Betsy DeVos, whose ties to businesses are too long to get into now because the government literally identified 102 of them, one of which was to a student debt collection company, which is so obviously a conflict of interest, it's like making the head of the sanitation department a literal piece of poop. Yet during her confirmation hearing, DeVos promised the Senate those ties wouldn't be a problem.
Where conflicts are identified, they will be resolved. I will not be conflicted, period.
And by period, I mean ... question mark ... footnote, page 379, conflicts very concerning. But what do you know? The Education Department just awarded a contract to that very same student debt collection company that got some of its funding from an LLC that DeVos used to invest in. And before that, she handed a victory to the father of her former advisor by reversing a decision to limit student loan fees, which could add $15 million in revenue to his student loan service. Man, the layers of the DeVos corruption are so complicated, you practically need a math degree to understand it. And of course, since she's head of education, you'll never afford one. Sometimes the plutocracy is more explicit, like Brenda Fitzgerald, who just resigned as head of the CDC? What? You're telling me the agency that makes anti-tobacco ads with people with electrolarynx was involved in corruption? How?
Fitzgerald, a Trump appointee, has come under fire after she reportedly bought stocks in tobacco and healthcare companies after she took over at the CDC in July.
Wow. So the person in charge of the CDC resigned for actively purchasing stocks in the very thing that she's tasked with protecting people from? I'm pretty sure that every victim of smoking is like, go to hell, Brenda. And then there's nepotism, when plutocracy is used to enrich the family of those in power by putting them in positions they didn't earn and aren't smart enough to succeed in. Except for Barron. We all love Barron. One of them's gotta be good. Take the first lady, daughter, Ivanka Trump. Not only is she somehow senior advisor, but she's used her access to push her corruption couture lifestyle brand.
Call it coincidence, call it conflict of interest. The Chinese government approves 2 Ivanka Trump brand trademarks on the same day that Ivanka Trump and her father met with Chinese President Xi.
Why don't we call this one coincidence, shall we? Like when some very fine people coincidentally pick the same day as Nazis to march in the streets of Charlottesville. Imagine the odds. Or the brain surgeon who sounds like he practices on himself, Ben Carson. The head of Housing and Urban Development has appeared to allow his businessman's son to profit off his agency.
The Washington Post reporting Housing Secretary Ben Carson was warned by his own department's lawyers that he is risking violating federal ethics rules if he allowed his son to help organize a listening tour last June in Baltimore. The specific warning that he was giving the appearance that he was, quote, using his position for his son's private gain.
Not just the appearance, those private gains seem to have played out because Carson's son's wife, who runs an equity firm, was awarded a $500,000 no-bid government contract. Carson defended his family's behavior with a tweet that referenced Exodus 14:14, which is, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." Cool, but Exodus also says, "You shall not steal." To recap, Trump's plutocratic administration is using their position to waste government money on private jets and to enrich themselves and their friends and family. Trump is treating the presidency like the Olive Garden, pushing the limits of unlimited soup, salad, and breadsticks, all while inviting more and more of his friends to join and repeating, "When you're here, you're family. Now let's support all the Mexicans working in the kitchen." The only way Trump has drained the swamp was by ridding Washington of career politicians and lifetime diplomats, the apparent middlemen. The lobbyists aren't gone, they're just the ones in power now, and they know as little about governing as the president does. Trump can't drain the swamp. The swamp is in his blue blood. It oozes out of every orifice he has, and I mean every orifice, which means America has a swamp-ass problem. Thanks once again for watching Newsbroke. I'm Francesca Fiorentini. Follow me on Twitter @FrannyFio. And we wouldn't be able to have done this video without all the amazing investigative reporters doing incredible work. So please support political journalism. And also, can you give us a 5-star review on our Facebook page? Because an army of right-wing trolls got a hold of it and they just started pecking at it like dirty seagulls at a little piece of bread. So it'd be awesome if you could give us a 5-star review, and we'll see you next week.